Hello again, gamers. Welcome back to the Board Game Captain. I'm the Board Game Captain.
I'm Lynn.
And today we're going to be doing our haul from Gen Con 2018 video. Haul is an H-A-U-L. Now, a quick note about this haul. We are excluding artwork we bought. We bought some artwork while we were there to put up down here in the basement. As well as Lynn bought some mystery boxes. And a couple other little like free giveaway stuff. If it wasn't a full game or it wasn't to a game we owned, we're not going to be talking about. So this is really just games we bought or were given for keeps. These are all things we are permanently going to own. So do you want to start us off or do you want to go second?
I'll start.
Okay, what do you got?
My first one is Lucky's Misadventures.
Mm-hmm. Episode 42, Lost in Autopia. I just love this subtitle of this
There
one.
were a couple extra things. I believe...
That looks like a first player token.
I bought some of this and some was free, I think.
You don't remember which is which?
Well, I want to say this was a promo.
Okay.
And I want to say I purchased the first player token, and there's also this playmat that I know I purchased.
That playmat is awesome, actually.
Because I remember I asked a question about it. So
now,
I know that was a purchase.
Now, this was one, we talked to the designer a little bit last year, and he was in one of our coverage videos in 2017. Mm-hmm. And then I guess, I didn't realize you had taken such a shine to it, and then this year you're like, oh, that game is out, I want to get it. So, you were anticipating it.
It's got, what is it? It's got like a card in there that's like a creepy doll.
You just like all the themes and such. What, do you know what kind of game this is, or what's the main mechanic or anything?
I believe it's card drafting, card deck building
kind
of thing.
Well, that's cool.
And we also, I already put them on something, but we got a little pin of the pumpkin head guy.
That was a giveaway.
Yeah,
yeah. So, all right, well, that's Lucky's Misadventures, episode 42, Lost in Autopia. So my first one is one I was, we were given a copy each of the starter decks to when we did a press event on Wednesday at Gen Con, and that was Warhammer Age of Sigmar Champions, the trading card game. Now talk about a long subtitle, right? That's all actually written right there on the box. So we have a Order and Destruction deck here. And that is because while Lynn was trying it out, she was trying Order and liked their mechanics. And because I, when playing Warhammer Fantasy back in the day, was a big fan of Goblins. So I wanted to get the Destruction deck because that will have Orcs and Goblins in it. So now this was we don't normally get into CCGs anymore, but the mechanics of this were really interesting at the very least, especially since they gave us free starter decks. We figured we're going to play with these two starter decks, which seem to be kind of like pre-constructs, so it's not like you even really need to go out of your way to buy much else at all. If you're only playing with each other, we can just play with these, and we're going to do a review and tutorial on these. Probably not an unboxing since it's just cards, but we'll do a review and tutorial on these. And it was really nice of Play Fusion, who ran the event, to teach us how to play, and they had a nice event, and it was lovely. So I'm kind of, I was going into it a little like, oh, it'll be nice, we'll go to the event, and we may not be into the game. But then we played it, and we were both like, oh, wow, this has some really weird and interesting mechanics. So because you were even kind of getting into it, which you weren't expecting to.
No.
So well, that is Warhammer Age of Sigmar Champions, the trading card game. I'm going to put that on the side now. What do you got next?
My next one is Tyler Sigmund's Crows. I don't know how well the words are going to show up. It's like black on black.
I think you can do a little like this.
Yeah.
There we go. Yeah, it is kind of black on black. I don't know how well that would show. It kind of does if you lean it. It's a very pretty box.
Yeah, I got a little first player token. And some cards.
Little promo cards.
I do believe this is... They had two versions.
You think this is a collector's edition?
Yeah, this one had like nicer pieces.
It's
something.
numbered. It's got to be a collector's. It's 665 of 1500. Let's show that to the camera.
It has it only has like upgraded pieces, basically. That's what he said. But
the game's still the same.
yeah.
So this is another one. Now you were kind of excited reading about this.
Well, we also saw a little demo last year too.
Which
in 2017.
This is one we've kind of been waiting for. It's kind of like a tile-laying abstract strategy sort of thing. Yeah, very interesting. All right, so that was Tyler Sigmund's Crows. My next one is one I only discovered more recently. Now, both of Lynn's, she was actually waiting a whole year for them to come out, essentially.
I guess.
And have been in the back of your head. Mine's much more recent. This next one is much more recent. I only discovered it a short while ago because of the wonderful Gen Con preview list that they do at Board Game Geek every year, which, I mean, my Gen Con experience lives and dies by the preview list. I'm always like, oh my god, look at these things. And that's where I figure out what I want. And this game is Junk Orbit. Now, Junk Orbit actually came out a little bit before Gen Con, but it was on the preview list. And I got, after looking through the preview list, I watched some videos on how it played. And this is 100% about the designer and the mechanics. So, the designer, Daniel Solis, had made some other games that I enjoyed. And the mechanics, the interesting mechanics where they actually worked to sort of... It's a pick-up and delivery game, and they worked a physics engine into it, which looks awesome and brilliant, and I can't wait to try it. And that is Junk Orbit. What do you got?
My next one is a video game, Snarf Quest.
I think we might
Tales?
maybe we'll do our very first ever video game review on this one, because we're both probably going to try this game.
Yeah, I've been passing this game at Gen Con for about 3 years, and every time I pass it, I'm like, oh, I should get that, and I never actually do until this year.
You finally broke down and were like, all right, let me talk to the guy about the game and ask him about it. And he was very nice.
Yes, he was. And I got it signed
by Larry Elmore, who created the character of Snarf.
Yes.
He used to do a lot of Dungeons and Dragons stuff back in the day. So now, well, why don't you talk about what kind of game it is?
It's a point-click adventure game.
Which you adore.
Yes, I played all of the King's Quests except for like their rebooted one, which they tried to make an action-adventure game. I wasn't having that.
You played all the original series, yes.
All the ones that were point-click I've played. And some other point-click ones. I was really into the King's Quest, though. Those were my favorite.
And this is supposed to be kind of like those, right?
Yes.
So, yeah, okay. That should be really interesting. I'm definitely going to want to try it out, too. We will check out Snarf Quest. Now, my next one is one that I got interested on when I watched some videos on the One Tars channel about it. And that is Mystery of the Temples. This seems really interesting. It's kind of it's one of those where it's like it plays like a board game, but you use cards to make the board, and it's sort of got a rondel sort of element to it, I think. I had watched some videos a while ago, and the main thing I remember was that it looked cool. The artwork was pretty, the style of game looked really nice, and I was interested in trying it. So when I saw it there on the shelf, I was like, ooh, let me get a copy. And I was glad because they sold out during the con, which was they being Deepwater Games. Deepwater is doing the American release for Emperor S4, who originally released this, and that is Mystery of the Temples.
My next one we got in the AEG Big Game Night box, so I don't really know much about it. It's Greedy Kingdoms.
How many players is that?
I
think it was right there in the back there.
Two players.
Oh, good.
It's a strictly two-player game.
Oh, this might be one you and I can at least just try at the coffee house. It looks like a small footprint game.
It looks like it might be some sort of race game. The word race is in the first sentence, so...
We don't really know much.
I don't know.
Yeah. You know what? I'm going to keep in that theme, and I'm going to throw another one out from the AEG Game Night box, and that is Trainmaker. Now, Trainmaker also was in the AEG Game Night box. They were giving a rulebook along with it, because apparently there's a misprint in the rulebook that's in the box, from what they said. I guess is the first run printing. There was 4 games for AEG Game Night this year. Was that right? 4?
I think so.
Yeah, and this was another one. Again, all I know about it is that you actually make a train and then possibly do some train lines as well. I'm not really sure.
Yeah, I flipped through the rule book. It seems like it's a card-based game.
Okay.
And you have to make your train. It has to be like functional. It has to have an engine and like.
Oh, cool. So there's like a set collecting aspect?
Yeah, the ones in the middle, and that you need a caboose, and then you can like do stuff with your train once it's made. I wasn't really sure.
Well, you just flipped through it. You didn't fully read it.
Yeah.
You're a bit ahead of me, though, because I have not even opened the rulebook on this one yet. So that is Train Maker.
My next one is a book. It is the Parsley book on how to...
I believe it's a game system.
Yeah, it's a game system. It's
You should go into a little background on this.
It's how to run a Parsley game. And a Parsley game, we played one for the first time this year. Mm-hmm. We didn't know much about it, except I think...
Well, you knew that it was...
Yeah, the description was pretty good, because it said that it was like those old adventure games, the text-based ones like Zork, where you just tell the computer you want to go north, you want to pick up the candle and things like that. But instead of being at a computer, it was going to be a guy was going to be your computer. So
now I just want to do a little aside here. Mm-hmm. So I bought a multicade, an arcade machine that plays like tons of different games, and it's got all different games from both the old arcade and classic computers and video game systems. And I go on and I find like all these crazy old school arcade games. Lynn goes on and finds all the old text-based adventures and does them. So she loves the theme. So when she found out about that the game was going to be like that, she signed up for it. And then when she saw it for sale in the store, she was like, "Oh, I want that."
Yes, we had a lot more fun than we thought we were going to have.
Oh, it was amazing.
There was about 20 or 30 people just sitting in a semicircle and saying things like "Go East."
We'll talk a little more about it in our Gen Con wrap-up video when we discuss all the things we did. But suffice to say, it was fun.
Yeah, so we were just wandering around. We weren't looking for this. We didn't know this existed. And we saw it, and I was like, well, I'm going to buy that.
and you did.
Yes.
And it was quite nice. Oh, so my next one, I'm going to pull another one here from the AEG Game Night box that I do not know much about. It is Junta las Cartas. Now, this is a strictly card game that is sort of a sequel to the game Junta. Now, I only know that there was a game called Junta. I never played it. I know it's a kind of an old school game. I think about being like a dictator in Latin America. Other than that, I don't really know much about it. And this is, I guess, a reimagining of it as a card game. It's a 3 to 6 player game, and I don't really know much else other than that because it was given to us along with our ticket price to go to the AEG Game Night. It was part of the included cost. So that is Junta las Cartas.
My next one is one that we played at AEG Game Night, but we then went and bought.
This is one I wished had been in there, which is why we went and bought it. Yeah.
This is War Chest.
Oh, yeah.
It is sort of an abstract strategy game that you can play with either 2 or 4 players. If you play with 4 players, then you're on a team with the person diagonal from you. Mm-hmm. And it was pretty interesting, and the components were very nice. They were the poker chips that you just move around little hexes.
It seems very abstract, but it was fantastic. Like, we really had a good time with it. You were on my team.
Yes.
And we were a little slow to get going, but then once we realized what we had to do, like, you and I fell in sync really quickly, and we started like taking spawn points, and which is the main point of the game and how you win. And we won. We won our first game of this as a team. I want to try this 2-player you versus me and see how it goes.
It was very close, though.
It was close. It was a nail biter.
They were right on our tails.
They really were. It was a good game, though. I really enjoyed it. I'm with you. My next thing is just an expansion I got for a game. If you watch my channel, you know I'm a big fan of Sails of Glory. And I picked up the special ship pack for the HMS Victory. It's one of the few first-rate ships of the line of the British that I do not yet own, except that now I do. And there it is. And I can't wait to try out the HMS Victory. And God, they just do such a good job over at Ares Games on these ships. I love the look of them.
This next one is Space Park. We kickstarted this and picked it up at Gen Con. Mm-hmm. It's already unwrapped because we've done an unboxing and we've played it.
Yes, this was when we were rushing to play because we were both really anticipating this game. We played it like the day after Gen Con. This is now we're recording this a couple days after Gen Con. We've already played this, and there'll be a review and tutorial coming at some point, but I can tell you we already enjoyed it. It was good.
It was fun, and it's not that difficult. It says ages 14 and up.
That's an overestimate.
I am side-eyeing that so hard.
Yeah, that is an overestimate. It's basically one big rondelle, and it's great.
I mean, even with like the small pieces, I mean, an 8-year-old is not going to put pieces in their mouth.
No.
You would hope.
No, I think the 14 is a thorough overestimate. The 30 minutes is a good estimate. But that was, we're getting ahead of ourselves. We're basically doing the review right now. We should stop that. The next one I got is one I've been hearing about for a while. It is not a new game, but it is a game I've wanted to get my hands on for some time. And that is Talon. Now, Talon is a hex-based battle tactic or war strategy game where you control ships, and the ships are able to be written on with dry erase markers. You keep track of the damage and the stats on the actual ship hex, which is really kind of cool, and I've heard it's an amazing system and really fun. Everybody who I've seen online who's played it says it's great, and I decided I really, really wanted to check it out. I was actually, I think it was Rob from I'm trying to remember his channel's name. I was watching another gaming YouTuber, and he was doing a top 10. Rob Oren. I was watching Rob Oren's channel, and he was doing a top 10 favorite GMT games, and this was like number 2 on his list of his favorite games from this company ever. And he gets a lot of games from that company. And it was one of those where I'd already heard a bunch about it, and I was like, you know what? If I see this at Gen Con, I'm getting it. And then I was walking by a shelf, and it was on the shelf, and I was like, ooh! I just grabbed it. And that was Talon.
My next one, we also played at AEG Big Game Night, and then we went and bought it at the AEG booth the next day.
Oh, yeah.
That is Space Base. This is, I guess it's sort of, you roll dice. There's a little bit of randomness in it.
There's a fair amount of randomness.
You roll dice. You get some stuff according to your game board that everybody customizes, to their abilities.
Yeah, you kind of do like.
Then you can buy cards and replace cards on your game board. It's really it's like a solitaire game with other people playing.
Which you love.
Yes, I do. I do.
It feels like engine building to me because now it's not just the die roll, and that's one of the interesting things of this is you can either use the total number of the die roll, or you could use the 2 separate dice, each as their own number, to get what they would give you from your board. And when you replace something, you put it above to build the engine, which is what happens when other people roll the dice. Again, you can decide either to use the whole number or each number individually. Ones you have replaced go above and give you stuff when other people roll dice. I would say that this felt like an updated, more modern version of like Settlers of Catan to me, with a big engine building like component. Would you agree to that statement?
I don't know. You're
not sure if you agree? Oh well, we'll see. We got to play it some more though before we review it. But I thought it was quite fun too. I'm with you on. My next one was one I was. Okay, this is one, it was on my top 10 anticipated, I don't know why I couldn't say anticipated, my top 10 anticipated games of Gen Con list, and it was because I had wanted to kickstart it and forgot to kickstart it in time and missed it. And then I was like, well, I'm just going to get it at Gen Con, and I did, and that is Master of the Galaxy, which is basically a 2-hour 4X game with Euro game mechanics, which really intrigued me, and I wanted to check it out, and I managed to get a copy from Ares here, and I'm very excited to try it. This is one that I've been very much wanting to get my hands on, so that is Master of the Galaxy.
My next one is Detective.
This was really, I think you have this was really high on your anticipated games list.
Yeah, this was my number 1.
Well, was it? I didn't remember if it was one or not.
It was.
It probably was.
I don't remember either, but I think...
I remember it was very high. I remember it was very high.
Yeah, you're being a detective and trying to solve a mystery, but the different thing is that there's real world things you need to do. Like there's a website you have to go
to research stuff.
To research things. I don't know if there's anything else besides that website out in, beyond the board game, because we haven't opened it yet, obviously. But it seems like it'll be really cool and immersive.
It sounds very much similar and maybe an evolution of the whole thing where people are doing apps that go with certain games. We haven't gotten into many or any really of the app-based games yet. This will be kind of our introduction to it, and then we'll figure out if we like this new thing of using electronic medium with games. So I'm intrigued to check that out. It's kind of a deduction game, yeah? I think it is. I mean, detective. It better be a deduction-based game.
Solving a crime.
Yeah, so deduction. Yeah. Okay, so my next one is another game I believe was on my top 10 anticipated games list, because this is one I'm very excited for, and that is Reef. And primarily, now Reef 1 has a really weird theme of you are growing a coral reef. The main reason I'm excited for this is a game designed by Emerson Matsuuchi, who designed Century Golem Edition, as well as all of the other Century games. But I'm a huge fan of Century Golem Edition, and this sounded really interesting. It's kind of a pattern-forming game by him, and the mechanics of the pattern forming, along with the fact that it was designed by Emerson Matsuuchi, I was on board. I was like, I want to get this game. And that's Reef.
Okay. My next one is Woodlands. It is also open because we've done an unboxing and played it already.
Yes.
This is one where you have to build a path, and there's going to be a clear overlay in the middle of the table, and you have to either avoid things on that clear overlay or make a path through those things or near them, and basically just not put trees on them, because if they're in the forest, you can't get to them. And the first one we played was Little Red Riding Hood, so you had to get Little Red Riding Hood to various places and eventually to her grandmother's house. And there are 3 other stories in there.
Each story has 4 chapters. Yes. It's a real-time game, but a real-time game done right. I've actually been enjoying this so far.
After you finish putting your tiles down and making a path, and each person takes a turn to, not really a turn, but they put the overlay over their path and then see how many points they get.
Yeah, for scoring.
Yeah.
So now, we did a demo, we had a scheduled demo with one of the people from Ravensburger at Gen Con to show us how this game plays, and they ran very nicely, ran us through the basics of the game. And we recorded that. In fact, that's probably going to be up before this. But afterwards, you told me at that point this was the game you were most excited about. Like you were after doing the demo, you were like, "Oh my god, I am so excited about this game." So yeah, that is Woodlands. What's the subtitle on that? I don't know how to say it.
The Fabulous Tile Laying Game.
Okay, I think that sounds like a good way to say it. I wasn't quite sure. So my next one is a game that, again, I believe was on my top 10 anticipated games list. And it is Everdell. This is the collector's edition, so it's got like a slipcover with pretty pictures of all the different forest animals on it. This is a kind of a village building, worker placement game with some amazing anthropomorphic animal characters. I love games with anthropomorphic animals. And this has been getting nothing but good buzz. Everyone who's played it says it's amazing. I can't wait to try it. In fact, after I bought it, and the thing was we had because we had stuck some games in the car to save time later when we were going to load up the car at the end of the con. This was one of the games that gets stuck in the car, but as we were walking around, we kept seeing people playing this game. And I was like, oh man, it looks so cool. I already have a copy of it. I can't wait to try it. And that is Everdell.
My next one is an expansion. It's Onitama Way of the Wind. And this has, I think it has some more cards.
Yes, it looks like it.
And it also has a little extra figure that you, both players actually move the figure around the board. I don't really know much more than that.
I understand that it totally changes how the game plays. Like, it makes Onitama a new game, is what I've heard. Well, I'll be interested to check that. And you know what? Since we already have Onitama, we are thoroughly versed in Onitama's playing, that should be one we could get to the table pretty quickly because we know the basics of Onitama very well. Now, the next one I have here was a total impulse buy. This is Illimat, and this is a very interesting looking sort of abstract card game where the box becomes part of the game. On the back of the box, they have 4 sides that say the 4 seasons on it, and the thing is, cards you play turn the box to give you advantage or your opponent's disadvantages depending on how you manipulate the box, which sits in the middle of the table. And it sounded really interesting to me, and it looked very different from a lot of the other games I was seeing at Gen Con. So it was one of those where I was like, okay, and it's not very expensive. And I was like, you know what? This is one of those ones, you see it over in the like entrepreneurs alley area, and you're like, I've never heard of this, but it looks interesting. And I was like, you know what? Let me give it a shot. I'm not risking much. And besides which, it just, those kind of games speak to me. Like, I see those little indie released games, I'm like, let me get it before it never shows up again. And so that was one of those. I saw that and I wanted to get it. And that was Illimat. And I got a couple little promos to it, like some promo cards and such there. So there we go. Let me put that on the side.
My next one is In Between. The box, they had a little paper near it explaining what it is, because the box just has like pictures all around it. And then on the other side is the same picture, but it's like all gross. It seems like it's very Stranger Things inspired.
Yes.
And it just says In Between on the end. So I did read the paper and I was like, ooh, that's interesting. I'm going to get it. But now I don't remember why it was interesting.
It's definitely one that looks like it was inspired by Stranger Things. I'm definitely with you on that. I remember that you picked it up and were looking at it and got really interested in it and decided to get it, but I don't remember what it was really like either. Well, it's a small box game. I'm sure it'll be quick and easy to play.
Right.
But that one was also, what was that? Gray Fox?
Yes.
I have had a really good track record with Gray Fox games. So, generally speaking.
I don't think, they said that they were selling this for someone else, though.
Was that not theirs?
No, there's a symbol on it. I'm trying to read it. It's something, Board and Dice.
It also says it already got the seal of excellence from the Dice Tower, so I'm hoping that it will also get the Captain seal. We'll see. But you know what? I was going to say, I don't often disagree with the stuff that they go as far to put as an excellence on. I have disagreed with them, but not, I would say that because they have the several levels. They have like quality, and then I think there's 3 levels, but the top level is excellence, and usually when they go that far to say that it's excellent, I usually agree with them. Now, my next one is Starship Samurai. This is one that's been being heavily covered around on other YouTube channels, and not based on people's reviews, based on my interpretation of what the gameplay looked like. I want to play this game. The game looks really... When I first heard about it, I was like, oh, okay. Someone's doing another, just, they're trying to capitalize on the popularity of animes like Gundam Wing, and they have these giant mech samurais, and I'm like, okay, whatever. But then I saw how the game played, and I was like, oh my god, that looks really cool. And it was one of those where I was like, I'm going to keep an eye out for it at Gen Con, and I saw it for sale, and I picked it up. And that is Starship Samurai, and I hope I like it as much as I think I will.
My next one is Welcome to Your Perfect Home. This is it says on the back, a roll and write game without dice. So
how does that work?
Well, I think it's a card, and there's
it's a card and write?
Yeah, there's decks of cards that give you things, and then you fill in your little.
And you're playing an architect in this, yes?
Not really an art. Yeah, I guess, but you're not like. I don't think you're building individual houses. You're building a community.
Oh,
you're building a neighborhood, so you're gonna put like.
So you're like
You're gonna put like white picket fences and pools and hedges. You're not like
community planning.
Yes.
Well, I think they do get architects to do that, to do community planning. So that's very interesting. This was, I didn't know much about this. This was one of your purchases, and it looks cool. And I know you love the 50s theme.
Yeah.
Like anything with like a kind of 50s theme on it, you gravitate towards those because you love the old movies and such. So, yeah, okay, cool. And that one was Deepwater Games too, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So my next one I'm pulling out here is a heavy box. Ugh. Ooh. And it was on my top 10 anticipated games list. It is Hannibal and Hamilkar, Rome versus Carthage. And this is a redo, a bit of a updated new edition of the old game, Hannibal, Rome versus Carthage. They added in some more scenarios for Hamilkar. And, yeah, you play out the Punic Wars. You can play out different eras of the Punic Wars. One player plays Rome, one player plays Carthage. It looks really cool. It's a strictly two-player game. The production quality looks really nice, and I am very excited to get this to the table, and that is Hannibal and Hamilkar.
My next one came in the AEG big game night box. I don't know much about it. It's Magical Treehouse. Something about back says you craft potions, and it looks like you build tree houses.
Okay.
I don't know, but it looks like it's probably gonna be fun. It comes with like these little tiles that look like cookies.
I don't know. All right.
There's like a little dish with cookies in it right there.
Again, this was a big game night box, so we don't know much about
Yeah.
it. We didn't choose to get it. It just came with the ticket. You never know it. If you're not familiar, AEG hosts a big game night every year, and along with your ticket price of going and playing all their games, they give you a bunch of games. And in this case, they gave us 4 games. This was the biggest of the 4. So, there you have it. Now, my next one was also one that I was anticipating, and I saw that sold out during the convention, and that was Root. And we also got the expansion to Root as well. Now, Root is another game with anthropomorphic animals. Again, I like that, but this is not as much about the art or the theme. It's much more about the mechanics, which sound incredibly interesting, because this is a bizarre, very asymmetrical game made by the same company who earlier, a year ago, had put out that game Vast. Vast was a dungeon crawler where one person played the adventurers, one person played the dragon, one person played the goblins, and one person played the cave, which was so weird. We're not as into dungeon crawlers, though, and this is more like an area control with severely asymmetrical qualities, where one person plays the ruling cats over the area, another player plays the birds who had been the former rulers of the forest and were ejected but are now coming back. Another player plays these Robin Hood-style rebels that are trying to undermine the cats, and another player plays this lone vagabond who wanders in and does what he likes and switches sides and plays Yojimbo on everybody. And the expansion adds 2 more factions into it, the River Folk and the Lizards, and also allows you to play up to 6 players, and I am very excited to check out Root. I really want to see how this game plays and get it to the table. This is one that, there's so many games I want to try to get to the table. I don't know what order these are going to hit the table in, but this is one that I definitely want to get to the table soon-ish. And that is Root.
My next one is Samurai Jack.
Yes.
Back to the Past. Mm-hmm. We played this in the Board Game Geek Hot Games room.
Yes.
And we weren't expecting much because, it's an IP game, but then we liked it so much we went and bought it the next day or the same day. I don't remember.
We were very pleasantly surprised by this game. It was, I think it was the next day.
Yeah.
But it was very enjoyable. And you also are a big fan of the old show.
Well, I watched it when it was on. I watched it. I know about it. You never watched it.
Yeah, I never watched it.
I'm a bigger fan than you, but I wouldn't say I was like a huge fan. I enjoyed it.
Well, but you were familiar with the IP.
Yeah.
You were like, Lynn was telling me the history of the show after we played it, and I was like, oh, that sounds cool. And now I found out that apparently all the seasons or available on CartoonNetwork.com, and we're going to have to go and watch them because now I'm interested, especially since we got the game. So my next one I'm going to talk about here is another game that I was very excited for, and that is Multi-Universum, and we got the little expansion, the Cthulhu expansion here. Now, Multi-Universum is a game where in a government experiment, they accidentally ripped open a hole in space-time to all these different dimensions, and you're trying to compete to close the most of the holes and get the most points for keeping alien, strange wildlife and monstrosities and killer robots from invading Earth, basically. And it looks really cool. And again, this is a Gray Fox game, and I do have a fairly good track record with Gray Fox. And that was Multi-Universum.
Okay. My next one is Once Upon a Time and a bunch of expansions. We wanted to get the newer edition with the... And this box...
Nicer box.
This box opens like a book.
Oh, that's so cool.
It's a little more...
Oh, yeah. Well, our old one is just... It's a must...
Yeah, it's just a slipcase.
Well, you know, Atlas Games has been doing a hell of a lot to upgrade the production quality of their games.
And then, he was like, oh, go to the Atlas Game booths, get the new edition of Once Upon a Time. I think there's an expansion, too. And I get there, and there's 5 expansions.
And you came back with all 5.
So I was sitting there, like, looking at them, and I was just like, oh, I like Seafaring Tales. Oh, I like Animal Tales, too. And I like Fairy Tales. And I was just like, I'm just going to get everything.
I wonder if you could mix it all in at once.
I couldn't decide. I did ask. And he said that you could, but if you really wanted to make it thematic, like if you picked Seafaring Tales and you really wanted it to be like everyone making seafaring things, to look through the cards in the base set and take out equivalent ones to...
Oh, it tells you to do that.
Well, he told me that. I don't know if it does.
Oh, it probably does. It probably says to do that. We'll have to take a look. Well, you know what? We're going to have to pull this out on some upcoming game nights and mix in the various different expansions one at a time and try out the different kinds of tales.
Yeah, he was just like, if you have a card that says a boat or a ship, and then there's a card in the base game that says, like, a carriage, like, take out the carriage, put in the ship. Yeah. So you have, like, a thematic seafaring.
Yeah, and this is, again, basically. This is one we have an older edition of, so we already know we like it. Yeah. We're already aware we like it. It's a very good storytelling game. So my next game is Death Note Confrontation. Now, this is a strictly 2-player... It involves writing, but I don't think it's really a roll and write. It's kind of a deduction game. And you're playing out, if you're familiar with the anime or manga of Death Note, you're playing out the main story, the main conflict that goes on in Death Note, where one of you plays L and the other plays Kira, as you're trying to uncover each other's identity. And that really struck a chord with me, because I was like, that sounds really cool. I love the Death Note anime series. I have the whole thing on DVD. I also love the original 2-part live-action Japanese movies they did of Death Note. I have those on DVD as well. And it wasn't just the IP, it was the fact that it also sounded like an interesting game. So I picked up a copy of Death Note Confrontation. And it looks pretty freaking cool, so I am excited for it.
My next one is... It's going to look like a book, and it is a book.
But it's also a game.
But it's also a game. It's Sherlock Holmes 4 Investigations. They gave us these spiffy little bookmarks that also have like character sheets that you can write on. And it's sort of like a graphic novel where you go through it, but then you look at the pictures and there's going to be page numbers hidden in the pictures. Like that one is really easy. They're like right there in big, but there are some pictures that the dude was showing me where there were like I was staring at the picture and he was still pointing out numbers that I hadn't even seen. And it's basically like If you walk into a room and there's a knife on the table, there'll be a number by the knife. And if you want to pick up the knife,
you go to the right page.
You flip to that page.
And so there's also some rules and stats you can have, hence the character sheets. So it seems to me like it's a cross between like a choose-your-own adventure and a role-playing game.
Yeah.
And they're all solo games, this series of games. So in this one, you were playing out like a Sherlock Holmes-style adventure. Mm-hmm. Next thing I have to show are some expansions I got for Wizard Kings. These are random assortments of units and treasures that you can use in Wizard Kings. I bought the base set last year. None of the stores near me carry it. And the thing is, now the base set was interesting, but it didn't come with enough of a variety of units to use. So I wanted to get some expansions, and they were selling them for $10 a piece. So I was like, oh, let me get a few of those. So I just grabbed a few, threw them in the bag. And I was going to, open them up and see what it came with and hopefully see if that it would enhance some of my forces that I had in the base set. And that is some random assortment of units for Wizard Kings.
My next one is another one of those RPG books. This one is Wild West based. And it comes again with a little, the rules are right on the inside cover there.
It tells you the rules how to play?
Yeah, comes with another little bookmark.
I think the rules differ slightly.
Sheet. Yeah, they probably do.
From game to game.
Because they're in this one, you are the mayor of a town in the Old West, and the character sheets are completely different. You can see that this one has like things for jobs and food and education, and there's a population thing. So
I'm very interested to check these out. You're probably going to get into them before I do. You're going to have to let me know how they are. And I'm probably going to want to do them too so we can do some reviews on them. Anyway, the next one I got was one I've been keeping an eye out for a while. And that is Odin's Ravens. This is a game that has gone through a few editions and it just looks beautiful and the game looks amazing. And it's one that it's just not carried by my local stores. And for a while, because I've seen content on it online, I've been like, I need to get myself a copy of Odin's Ravens. And then I saw it on a shelf. We were walking by a booth just on like the last day. And I saw Travis from Atlas Games he was hanging out and talking to the people at Osprey Games who published this. And he goes, oh, hey guys. And I went, oh. And we pulled over to talk to him. And while I'm talking to him, he was sitting there on the shelf and I said, oh, I want that game. I just grabbed it and bought it. And it was just one of those like funny things, like it happened by accident, but it was really great happenstance because I've been wanting to get one of these for a while. And that is Odin's Ravens.
My next one is Spirits of the Wild. This is a 2-player game. I think it's a set collection. And
That looks really pretty.
Yeah, you pull out little beads from the bag, and then you have to put them on your spirit cards in front of you, and when you fill up, you get the right, combination of beads. That spirit will help you.
Now this is the only of the there were Mattel was there, and Mattel had a booth, and this was they are trying to get into the hobby game market, and this was one of the games. This is the only one we bought, and it was specifically because you thought it looked good, but actually, like, I'm interested to try this game, and I do hope Mattel, because I want more companies. I want more companies making games. The more companies, the better is how I feel. So I hope they stick with it and have a hobby game division.
Yeah, they had a lot of demo tables there. I mean,
that's good.
Yeah, I think their demo area was bigger than their selling area.
That is very good.
So,
but the game also looks interesting.
Yes.
So I'm intrigued to try it out. And that's a strictly 2-player?
Yes.
All right, so that's going to be
abstract strategy, it says.
It might be a nice coffee house game.
Yes.
Could be. I hope. My next one is another one of those role-playing graphic novel choose your own adventure books that Lynn showed 2 of. She was looking at those 2. I was looking at a third one and got it. And that is Loup-Garou. So this is one where apparently you become a werewolf. And I was like, yes, please.
What does your little bookmark look like?
Oh, it looks very cool.
It looks like an actual RPG character sheet.
Yeah, it really does. It really does look like a character sheet. I am very curious to check this one out. I think this is going to be the first one I play. So we might do individual reviews of these. Like you might do ones for yours, just to get them out quicker, depending on whether or not we have time to get to each other's books. And I might do one of this. We'll see how it goes. I would like to, if we can, I don't know how quickly it is to go through one of
Right.
these, but I would like to have us both be able to talk about each of them if we could. But that is Lou Garou, and these by the way are all from Van Ryder Games. It looks like, and they look really, really interesting. It's a really cool kind of concept. I think they did I want to say they did a Kickstarter with these, but we hadn't gotten in on the Kickstarter, and then we saw it there at the convention, and we're interested. What do you got?
Oh, my next one is Professor Treasure's Secret Sky Castle.
Now that was on your anticipated games list.
Yes.
For sure.
So you're a treasure hunter, and you have to infiltrate Professor Treasure's secret sky castle because he's hoarding all the treasure. So you have to track down the treasure and, I guess, get it out of I don't know if you have to actually get it out of the castle or if just when you get the treasure. That's it. I don't know.
Well, we'll have to find out. That is a level 99 game. Have to check that out. It looks cool. So my next one is a giant one. This is Victory and Glory Napoleon. Now, this is another really big, heavy game that the production just looks off the freaking charts. It looks amazing. It's a 2-player game, and you play out the entirety of the Napoleonic Wars. And they were giving away these lovely extra maps of some of the famous battles. I'm not even sure if these have a gameplay purpose. I think they're really just, to give you something pretty. Is really what it came down to, but which was really cool. Forbidden Games put this out. They were actually located outside the exhibit hall. They were in one of the letter gaming halls.
They were in Hall C.
Yeah, they were in Hall C. And I actually got this from their table there. And I don't think they had, because they were still selling it all the way through the con. I don't think a lot of people realized there were some people selling stuff out there. But I'm very excited to try this out. It's a big, expansive, expensive-looking game that lets you play out an entire war in a very interesting, bizarre, abstract way. It's strictly 2 players, and this is another one I cannot wait to get this to the table. And that is Victory and Glory, Napoleon.
My next one is Mesozoic.
That was on your anticipated list, right?
You are building a dinosaur park. I don't know much more about it. I did read about it when I put it on my list.
But now you've forgotten.
Yeah, it's like, because you hear building a dinosaur park, and my first thought was, oh, is it just going to be a dinosaur-themed barren park? But then I read into it, and it's not, and that's why I put it on my list, but I don't remember how it's not.
Okay, well, we'll try that. How many players is that?
It is 2 to 6.
Oh, wow, okay. Hopefully it plays well at 2. Because I was going to say, those little games, we hit the table a lot for just you and me fairly often. So, the next one I have was a giveaway. We got it at, actually, I want to give a little shout out to somebody. So, we showed up to the stink and we were early, but not early enough. We saw them giving out books, and when we got to the table, all the books were gone. And then I said, I'm going to go, I said, hold my spot in the line, because we were still waiting in the line for other stuff. And I said, I'm going to go find out what book it was. I just want to know what we missed. So I went over to some people who I saw talking about the book, and I said, oh, what book was it they were giving out? I was just curious. And they said, oh, it was this, it was the Fate version of Achtung Cthulhu, which I actually had, and I'm a fan of the Achtung Cthulhu world. I have it in the Savage Worlds rulebook version, which this is basically, it's World War II with you being like Allied side paranormal investigators, and the Axis side are tapping into supernatural forces and Cthulhu monsters to help them win the war, and you have to defeat them. Well, I do not have the Fate version, though now I do, and the reason I do is because I said, I went over and I asked them about it, and I said, oh, it's too bad, a whole RPG book, that would have been cool, and I turned to walk away, and this lovely lady, she says to me, she says, oh, do you want one? And I turned around and I said, yes? And she said, listen, he and I each got one. We don't need 2 copies. Here. And she gave me a copy. And I was like, wow, that is so cool. This is why I love Gen Con. And then, of course, as I was walking around Gen Con with my custom dice, I gave them each a few of my dice because that was all I had I could give them. I wish I could have given them more at the time, but as a thank you for giving me the book, I gave them some of my custom board game Captain dice. So if you're watching, seriously, thank you so much. That was really cool. I'm really glad I got this for my collection, and that is the Fate version of Achtung Cthulhu.
My last item is a deck of cards. It's Monster Family playing cards, Thornclaw Manor. The people that we bought these from said it's just a regular standard deck of cards, but they are working on rules to make some sort of game with them.
Yes, but it was mainly done by an artist because it showcased a bunch of his artwork in it, and it looked gorgeous. And they had like foil sections of the cards.
Yeah, there's silver foil on most of them, and it looks really pretty and shiny.
Yeah, and you just love to collect playing cards. Yes. You've got so many, but all nice ones. You like to pick out nice ones. Now, the next thing I got was okay. We have played a bunch of this game, but only in conventions and never owned it, and that is Rocket Age. Now, this is the Rocket Age main book. Now, we first played it years ago with the actual game designer, Ken Spencer. He was one of the best game masters that have ever run a role-playing game one-off in a convention with us. And then since then, we've played it like 3 or 4 more times. We've battled on Mars. We've battled on Jupiter. We've gone gallivanting around the solar system in a 50s-style rocket ship. And that's what this is about. This is about 50s-style sci-fi. So I found him in the exhibit hall, and I'm looking at the books, and I said, you know what, I've been dying to get these for a while. I really love your system. I reminded him that he had game mastered for us, and he was like, and I reminded him of something specifically funny that I had done, and he goes, I remember you guys. And that was before I had a channel. So, and I said, you know, I've been wanting to get this for a while, and he told me he had a deal going on to buy basically all the current expansions for it. And I got the deal. I got the package deal. So I've got The Lore of Venus, Blood Red Mars. I knew I was getting Blood Red Mars because that was the game he ran was the one on Mars, and that was one of my favorites. The Trail of the Scorpion, which has, if you can make it out there, it has a picture of Nikola Tesla.
Yeah, I'm wondering what he has to do with that.
I am guessing he's involved as an NPC in the story. And then Heroes of the Solar System, which includes both human and alien heroes, which is very cool. Now, this is a really fun, imaginative game. I love the universe. The game system also, from when we played it, was really awesome. They had these similar... Now, in Savage Worlds, they had these tokens that you can use to re-roll dice. In this, they have tokens, but they allow you to change things. Mm-hmm. And it was much more interesting. They allowed you to activate certain special abilities that let you do things a little more interactive, a little more interesting. Like I used one to make an EMP device. Mm-hmm. I was a guy who was like a very big on MacGyvering things. I jury-rigged an EMP device together with them. So this is one, I have played the system a lot, but I have not read the books. So upon reading the books, I am planning to review them for the channel. Especially since I'm already thoroughly versed in how the game itself plays, I will do full reviews for each book for our role-playing game list on the channel. So I hope you guys are looking forward to that. Is that everything?
Well, that was all that I had.
I believe that is all that I had. Also, I also got this little promo thing for Reef that comes with some fish in it. I'm not really sure what the deal is. It also seems to come with some extra special rules, but the fish are really cool looking. I paid for this. This was a little bit of an extra thing you could get as an add-on. They said, hey, do you want the fish too? And I said, sure. So this is everything we got. We got a good number of games. A little bit less than last year, I think, because we bought more artwork this year and mystery boxes and things. You bought 2 mystery boxes last year. This year you bought like 4.
I only bought 1 last year.
No, you got the game mystery box last year. You forgot about it because it wasn't very good. The board game mystery box, remember?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, it wasn't a very good one, though. But, so this is everything we got game-wise at Gen Con 2018. So be sure to comment down below and let us know which of these you're really interested in seeing us doing content about. And we will try to make sure to you know, if we specifically know that you viewers are interested in certain games, we go out of our way to make sure to do content about it. Because not everything we buy is going to get content. We get a lot of stuff. So if you let us know you're into it, we'll make sure to get unboxings and review and tutorial videos done for it at the very least, whether we like it or not. Anyway,
Well, I hope we like it. We bought it.
I hope we like it. No, but I mean, there's always a few that you're like, oh, this is very good. And I mean, that's unavoidable. It's going to happen. But these, I think, are going to make game nights for a while very, very interesting. There's a lot of really cool games here. We've already played about 4 of them, and because we got to play a couple before we left the con, and then a couple right after we got home. So, if you enjoyed this whole video, be sure to give it a like, share it on all forms of social media, and if you haven't already, please subscribe to the Board Game Captain. That's Captain spelled with a K on YouTube. And until next time, game on.